Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Hello and welcome to City Alpha 3, a Star Trek podcast here on the Nerd Party. I'm Philip, joined by Daniel and Darren to talk not all things Trek, but talk all things on about one topic that I've chosen. But before we get into it, how's your Trek March going, Daniel? It's not Imperial March. It's Trek March.
Trek March to nowhere at this point.
Okay.
I'm not watching anything yet. I still haven't decided what I want to do next. So, but it's okay. It's going okay.
Well, without going too deep into it, if you don't want to, but obviously you rewatched DS9 with your wife. Is there any Trek? Is she having any Trek questions, or is she just glad to share the experience with you? Or what are you thinking?
It took us like 2.5 years to get through it, so we are catching up on some of the other things.
Technically faster than we watched it the first time through.
I don't know, 7 years into.
That's true. That's a good point. But so we're catching up on some other stuff. We're watching season 4 of Stranger Things right now, which is not great. But that's
I only ever watched the first season. So
that's all you need to watch. That's literally
I think I watched the first 3. I haven't watched the most recent one. Yeah, it's apparently I'm not missing much.
Not great, but we're in it, so we'll probably just watch some Netflix stuff for a little while. I don't think maybe at some point I'll do a TNG rewatch and I'll force her to do it, but I won't make her watch everything.
So Daniel's future topic will be episodes I will not have my wife watch.
She does watch Lower Decks with me. She does like Lower Decks a lot. So
I mean, good taste.
And you put the arm over her and so this is why this is funny.
Yeah. Why are you pausing it every 3 seconds, honey? I got to explain. You got to understand.
Yeah.
Darren, what about you? Any stuff? I don't pretend to know everything, but you and your wife are usually on the same page. I don't know anything y'all are sharing or anything you're rewatching.
It's interesting. I haven't truly been rewatching some of the TOS movies, but in a way I have, because I've stumbled across a couple of there's that video type on YouTube of not necessarily movie reviewers, but they're people our age that
first
never got around to seeing X and Y movie, and so they'll watch something for the first time.
Whatever's.
Yeah, first time whatever. So I've been watching a few people who've been going through all the TOS movies, and so it's a fun activity because you're getting to see someone around our age experience it for the first time. They're not Trekkies. They didn't grow up on this. They didn't see it in theaters or anything like that. So anyway, it's always funny because they edit it down, obviously, for time and copyright. But I still feel like I've seen the movie because it's all the little best bits that they're reacting to. And, I'm filling in the gaps in my mind. So I've yet to record those viewings, air quotes, in my letterbox because it's still not quite watching the movie, but it's kind of the next best. It's like the fast forward version. Within 40 minutes you're getting the whole movie, or at least the highlights. So that's been fun. I've been enjoying that, and it's just it's funny because the latest ones I watched, the reviewer was doing Star Trek 2 and 3, and then I think they did all of them, but I just jumped in at 2 and then 3. And so 3, again, it's
I don't care about your motion picture thoughts.
Well,
everybody falls asleep before they can finish.
Again,
there's
this
is slow. Are all the movies like this?
Well, in 3, there's a lot of. It's a search for Spock, and we don't know Spock's back, and and it's weird because Sarek shows up and she's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "That's true. You may not know who Sarek is," and anyway,
that was my experience.
Yeah.
I watched movies before I watched TOS.
Yeah, they do drop in a lot of lines of my son and stuff like that, so they make it clear. But anyway, so I've been doing that. I haven't dusted off some TNG or something like that in a little while, but I should just go to the home of Star Trek and I can watch whatever I want. So
Netflix, yeah, it's available. So I finished we're all in a similar state here. I finished animated series. So that was good. No complaints. I mean, for, speaking of first timers, I think there's probably Trek fans who probably have never seen the animated series before. I certainly recommend it. I mean, I don't know what its reputation is among, people younger than me. But it's obviously a little slower, but I mean, still short episodes. I mean, not as short as Lower Decks, but it's a cartoon, but it's still Star Trek. So it's this sort of happy medium between things. So it was an enjoyable experience to revisit that and then read the animated series book as I watched along. So, so we'll have to figure out our next rewatch next. But speaking of rewatches, I was thinking about Star Trek series I want to do and was different, what to talk about, which series, but it got me thinking about pilots or even kind of vaguely first seasons of various Star Trek series compared to the rest of the series, whether it was 4 years, 7 years, 5 years, your mileage may vary. And so I just wanted to talk about sort of the difference, like what would happen if kind of the things we saw in the pilots had stayed the whole time and whether we thought there were good or bad changes. So I thought we'd kind of talk about 21st century shows first. Those ones made in the 21st century, not set in the 21st century, because there's very few. Because I don't think there's a lot of changes, but we can talk about it. So I think the first thing I thought about was Star Trek Discovery. Now, it has been a bit of a day since I first watched, because then there's, of course, the two-parter, The Vulcan Hello and Battle of the Binary Stars. Then you have the third episode, Context is for Kings, that really gets things going. There's only one thing that really stands out, but if y'all can put your minds back, and I know you kind of dropped off, but just the discovery you saw in the beginning as far as sort of the characters and the vibe, and then season 2 and 3, anything, Darren, jump out that was sort of big changes or things you thought it was going to be about, or again, I don't want to focus on story because obviously stories change. Right. As far as the vibe and character.
They ended up in the 31st century.
Yeah,
I didn't see that coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched that, pilot, but I remember liking the pilot. It was new Star Trek. It was, hey, we're coming back, this new era. And I remember, I think the most interesting thing is because it's a prequel series, or it was at least, so you're coming back in this pre-Kirk time. And I remember just like, and I know this isn't like plot, which is probably the whole point of your question, but I was more looking at like, how are they threading that needle of it looking like modern TV show, but obviously they're not going the Star Trek Continues route where it's like, hey, everything looks like it was made in the 60s, but you still had, tubing in the ceiling and the doors and all of that. But no, all that to say, I think with Discovery, I think the biggest thing in the pilot is the mystery. And that's kind of been prevalent through all of Discovery and modern Trek is, TNG didn't start with like, who is this Commander Riker? Do we trust him? It's like, no, it's like, he's just a member of Starfleet. Like there's nothing to see here, like we want to learn about these characters, but with Discovery, it's like, what's going on? Why, like, what's going to happen to Michael? What's, why is Lorca acting all shifty, And so I think that was kind of the biggest difference of, especially seeing it in the beginning is like, you're already started with these mystery boxes and questions, which you didn't really have in other pilots. because that wasn't modern television.
Now, Daniel, I'm going to keep picking you for DS9 because after a while you're no longer the DS9 guy. But having just watched DS9, which obviously the past 3 or 2 seasons, 2 or 3 seasons was Dominion War. I mean, theoretically, when you started Discovery, 3-4 episodes in, this is the Klingon War season. But then that abruptly turns into, just kidding, Mare universe, and then just kidding, we're done with that, season 2. But I don't know, like, whether you liked it or not, would you have wanted to see where that Klingon War kind of went, that vibe, or anything else that you thought when you first watched?
No, I don't think I cared too much about that specifically. When I think about the beginning of Discovery, I think I feel like the look was so different. Like the uniforms were stiffer, and like Michael as a character was like also sort of like really wooden almost.
It's called Vulcan, Daniel.
Yeah, she's not a Vulcan. And I don't know. The beginning definitely had us. You could tell it's different than the rest of Discovery, but not really in a bad or a good way. Just they were just finding their footing or whatever. But yeah, like everything being like, what is happening? Like oh, black alert. Like what is that? What does this even mean? Like and like so Section 31's here now too, and it's like everything was just like everything's new and coming at us all at once. And okay, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah, now I want to pick that up, Dan, because I think this is one of the things that, with pilots.
Oh, you don't remember Section 31's like out and about years where like they weren't quite as secretive,
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to pick, because there's certain things pilots do, and like we can make fun, but like it's interesting of like mentions or things you see and then you never see again. And it's because like, well, we didn't want to follow up with it. It's like, oh, they did. I know they did this, but I'm saying as an example, say Discovery just did the hologram communications for like the first episode, never did it again. It's like, well, what, but like the start, Black Badge is perfect example, because that's, I think, would have been third episode, because that was on the Discovery, I believe. It's been a hot second. But anyway, like that was a one episode and then never again. Like, what was that would have been like if there was just like the Section 31 room? Like, obviously we don't know, but like, what would that have been? It would have been, I say interesting, but like, whatever, other than doing like a whole Section 31 season and, back half of season 2. So it's like, what would that have been? The Section 31 room? Like there's a personnel like sliced on Discovery. That's just like, don't ask.
Well, and we kind of talked about this before in Discovery discussions, but it's also kind of very interesting, Discovery specifically, because I have to really remember and push my mind out of the 90s Trek production flow, because it would be so easy to say like, oh yeah, the Black Badges, they showed up, but like audiences didn't know who they were, so they stopped showing them. It's like, no. All that season's in the can. It's not the 26 episode making it as it's airing. Like that is not how this show went. So any change from the pilot on was a production choice without fan feedback. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying I have to keep reminding myself of that, because I'm so used to, TNG, where by the time you're airing the pilot, or let's say you're airing the pilot, you're in production on episode 8 or 10, if people really hate that Data's too human, you can change that performance for the rest of the season. Like that's not the case in the streaming era.
And not even,
I don't know how the industry works, but in my head, and someone can correct me.
I do. I live in Hollywood. What are you talking about?
Exactly. That theoretically, and again, you can correct, especially in the 90s and before, like the pilot, and then you would show that to the suits, and then you'd get the notes, and then
people are still making decisions for sure. Yeah.
And then you get the green light. for the full order. Whereas, now again, what do I know? I imagine this was like, oh, we got to do this. And then you would get the green light. And then you would get your, and then you would get the green light for the full order. Whereas, now again, what do I know? I imagine this was like, oh, we got to do this. And then you would get the green light for the full order. Whereas, now again, what do I know? I imagine this was like, we made 10 episodes. Like, you were greenlight to make the series, and then you made the series. It wasn't like the Suits, like, show me the first episode, and then we'll talk. It was like, no, just
Right.
you can do it.
Yeah, so
it
the
depends,
timeline
but-
is like more truncated. But if you do remember, if you do recall, Discovery had a pretty tumultuous start with like 3 showrunners being, it started with Brian Fuller and then moved to other people. And I can't specifically remember if it was like right before it came out, but it was right in the beginning times. It was like sort of like as the ramp up into Discovery was going, there were things being shifted around. So presumably while they were being actually made, produced, and written and all that. So that may be why there are elements of like, well, is this a thing we're going to do? And then we don't really do it. And
That's true. That could be like the Black Badges could have been Brian Fuller's thing, and then he's out halfway through, and so they're gone. Not fan feedback, but change. That's true. We have, and not that we haven't had shakeups in production staff before, but not like the beginning of Discovery. Like
the end of Enterprise.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Manny,
Right.
taking over in season 4. Yeah. So, because I think you could have made that work. And again, I don't want to bash Discovery, but like, how worse could you have made it? But anyway, I'm just thinking like, but you could have tied it in like, if Lorca, spoilers, if Lorca is Mayor Lorca, maybe he is using Section 31, for him. Like, they don't know that, but he's using Section 31 for him. So that's why they're on the Discovery. I mean, you could have picked that up, but it was just like, showed it and then never showed again. It was just like, okay. So yeah, I guess unless you guys have any other examples, I'm just going to do these 3 series because I don't think there's much difference, but you tell me if there is. Lower Decks, Prodigy, Strange New Worlds. I feel like those are both out of the box, and that's what they always were and always was. There wasn't like a necessarily jump from episode 1 to the rest of the season.
I think I agree. I think the Lower Decks is almost kind of a caveat because in a way, Lower Decks started in Discovery. Like, Lower Decks is the shift after Discovery. It's not like it is its own show, but I think it had a very different origin.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if we did watch the first episode of Lower Decks,
I said Lower Decks. I meant Strange New Worlds. I don't know why.
Okay.
Sorry. Strange New World, because that started with Pike on Discovery.
Right.
And then now here's your own show, and it's way more TOS than like Discovery Pike. You know what I mean? Like, as far as the episodes and how it's constructed and all of that. So I feel like that backdoor pilot we all got, I mean, that's really was the pilot. It was more the Discovery episodes than it was the beginning of season 1 of Strange New Worlds.
I wonder if we went back and saw that episode too, like, because it would be different, right? Like the costuming was different.
A little different, yeah.
He was. I don't know Anson's natural coloring, but I will guess he was coloring his hair.
It was way less silver, for sure.
He's full silver, obviously, now in Strange World, but he was still doing kind of a brown thing going on then.
Oh, that'd be funny to see.
Yeah.
And even the Enterprise looks different, right? So they're all so that soft sort of pilot would be very, like, a little bit different. Not tremendously different, but
you get Spock, you get number 1.
Yep, yeah.
You get Spock's shuttle. It's all there. But yeah, for Lower Decks, I feel like the only change, and to me it's an Orville. It reminds me of the Orville, where it went for, and maybe, there's a 50 million things going on in a TV series. Doesn't matter whether it's animated or real life. But like, it was jokey, not a complaint. And then storytelling starting in like season 2 or 3. Like, I can't remember when I really like, oh my God, they're really bringing the storytelling. Not to like junk on those first season or anything, but it was sort of like they're really threading more than just joke. And so I think that's the only thing I could say about Lower Decks, but that's more maturing than necessarily a change.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember at the beginning, like, we all would look at season 1 of Lower Decks, and even from the beginning to the end of that season, like, they're tapering it down. Like, they're finding, and that's comedy. You have to find what works and find the flow. And yeah, I remember that too on the Overall, where like, I remember starting it and being, oh, well, I'm not a huge Family Guy fan. Like, is this just going to be Family Guy in space? And yeah, there was some jokes that were kind of in the beginning, but then it balanced and became great.
That's why I stopped watching it.
Which one?
Just the beginning part. I didn't make it very far.
Orville, it really matured. I really do recommend. If anything, the last 2 seasons. Picard, and this goes to kind of what you were talking about with Discovery, Daniel. Picard, again, 3 showrunners, 3 different seasons. I believe so, yeah, because Akiva and then Terry. Someone else was anyway.
Might as well be 3 different shows, honestly. Really.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to stick with just the first season. The first episode.
We finally got our anthology series. We just didn't know it was going to be an anthology series.
The only thing and this is a dumb thing, but again, it's like the Black Badge is something they show and then never show again. The dog, which I know we make fun of, but where'd the dog go? Number one, if for one thing. Jean-Luc has never been an animal person. I mean, he had the fish, but I'm not counting that. Sorry. Apologies to fish lovers. Is this a newfound thing? And
he likes horses, right? We found that out.
That's true.
So maybe he always liked dogs. He just didn't ever have an opportunity on the Enterprise.
Well, it's not like we never.
Riker shared with him his NX-01 holo novel, and he's like, "This Porthos thing is amazing. All captains should have dogs." And went and found number 1 right then.
Does Riker know that Jean-Luc has a dog named number 1? I mean, I'd feel some way about that.
I mean, technically, it's a position name, not a personal name, but.
So, if you just go on a road trip with Jean-Luc, does he call you number 1? It's just as long as you're...
Oh, yeah. We were robbed of that scene of Picard being number 1, and they're both yes, and then the dog's like, Ruff,
You're my number 1 dog.
Yeah.
Because, it's just a little thing, but, I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but, if you're going to show that he's a dog, and he has a dog... it's a joke. That's obviously all it is. But, we should see it again, even if it's the last scene of season 1. You know what I'm saying? It's like showing a baby.
The dog in some peril. Yeah. Everyone would love that. No. It'd be we really want to watch what happens next week because the dog might kick the bucket.
Is his girlfriend just hanging around with the Ronman girl? Hanging around with the dog?
Was on the poster for this season.
I know.
It was.
So, yeah, I agree. There definitely should have been more dog. Yeah, and actually, you know what? I would have been fine with more, winery stuff and less gallivanting.
More planet, yeah.
More Earth stuff and less,
We should have had number 1 interact with Spot the 5th,
Spot 5. Anything else from Picard's, and again, if you just want to say season 1, but just keeping it within season, because the vibe is pretty much there. Picard,
the pilot of season 2. The pilot of season 3 was, yeah. No, I get you.
But anything else about Picard? I feel like it's mostly what they said it was going to be, or everyone was pretty much how it was.
I think it's the type of question you're going after is just really hard to wrap around modern Trek because it's 10 episodes. It is very different. There's not enough time to sink in versus 90s Trek.
Well, and it's also the series that we're talking about. All of them are pretty hard to talk about because they're not old enough. I think Discovery is the best one to talk about just because it's the oldest. 5 years. We haven't seen the 5th one yet, but, of course, you haven't seen the 4th one. But there's enough you can play with.
You say 5 years, but it's not 5 calendar years because it takes 2 years to get each season. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When did it?
When did it?
2017, 2018, maybe. It
was a long time ago.
Because it was announced in 2016, right? When we were
17.
Okay. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Wow. So 7 years. Yeah. Oof. Okay.
They could have gotten 7 seasons by now, but
yeah. And
you're asking for a lot from Paramount.
So, all right. Well, let's go back to the Trek of yore. I feel like we've all probably seen Encounter a few times in our lifetimes. So TNG. Here, I'll just throw out one, and then we'll kind of just go around here. Data. And it's not just the makeup, which that too, but I'm not going to go to that superficial. But just the way he acts, it's funny because he acts more human than he does later, even though it's set, I want to be more human. Because I used to think of him in the holodeck with Riker, and like I mean, I don't remember, but like conceptually, if not literally, I feel like he's using
way less wooden in the holodeck.
I feel like he's
in
using
that pilot.
contractions. I might be wrong, but like it's not. Yeah, he's more of a humanoid
Whistling.
than a android. And so, and that's, as you said, pilot, and then, they got the money, and then they could do the makeup better. And then, Brent made choices. But it just would have been interesting. There was like a novel, oh God, was it Q Squared? Where, this is with Trelane and Q, and anyway, where there's three different, in the novel you follow, like, I think 3 different timelines, and one of the TNG, alternate dimensions, and one is where Data is a humanoid. I mean, like, he's a very human android. So it's just an interesting concept that they went with there. But just thinking about that, where, I mean, he still wants to be human, but he sort of acts more human. So kind of more like, Blade Runner-y than android-y. So, and I'm not saying I would have preferred that, but it just would have been interesting to see what that would have looked like, I guess. But anyway.
A human Data, they would never do that.
I know,
Never.
Picard season 3. All right. Daniel, anything from Encounter that jumps out at you that was...
Obviously it's very different. TNG changed tremendously, and I would argue pretty much every change they made was for the better. Something early on that I really, really do like, even though I think it's kind of better that they changed it, was the music, like the really synthy 80s music, like the cheesy stuff. I kind of love that. But obviously the costumes change and the lighting changes and the sets got better, and it's like, TNG it's tough because it's an example of, in almost every way, like everything got better. So even though they're like,
better.
Like, what would it have been like if it didn't change? It'd be like, well, it probably would have been worse. So I don't,
Riker got a beard. Lots of. Yeah, no, I agree with Daniel. Like, there are a lot of subtle changes, but I know it's probably not the spirit of your question, Philip, but like, there's a lot of. It's. Like, a lot of it's just the writing. Like I watch Encounter, and I watch like those first few episodes, and they're just not dialed in as far as like the technobabble, like at all. They're like, they're throwing around words and terms, and they're just
print out to all stations, print out only.
yeah, stuff like that, and it's just it's as if it's back in like the TOS era where like it doesn't really matter and people aren't going to care. It's like, no, but at this point people are caring. But all that to say, I like as it got more refined and, the series Bible existed or whatever, but yeah.
And Daniel, with music, and I feel like I'm going to say this, and then you're all going to say, like, no, here's so many examples of why you're wrong. But, like, I feel like after that sort of beginning of TNG, other than the Borg, there isn't necessarily TNG music you can play. And I'm like, oh, that's from that episode. I mean, I can do the Borg one, because that's very... Dun, 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 yeah. Dun, 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 yeah, that one. But, like, other than that, seasons 2 through 7, I think All Good Things... All Good Things probably I'm not counting the flute. Okay.
The flute one.
And
what about the keyboard?
But you play it and you're like, you have to hear that it's a keyboard. If I play the flute, is it from the Inner Light or is it from Lessons? I don't know. It's one of them. 50-50. But it's not like TOS where like you can play the music and you're like, oh, that's from, or at least the part or the vibe, which I know they used it differently. Yeah, it's like using lighting.
Well, I'd say there's still some, like, the Borg theme in Best of Both Worlds. Yeah. Like, but I get what you're saying. Like, and maybe because there's just fewer episodes in total, but yeah, we hear the arena and we know that that's what that is from. Whereas in TNG, it's more like this is the battle music and we hear it in many different episodes, which is fine. I mean, that's just how it goes.
'Cause I would think it's the same.
The just music in this, in TOS is just used differently. Like, whereas in TNG and later Star Trek, it's more just like to serve the story. Like it wasn't part of the storytelling. It just like exists to like put you in the right mood. Where in like TOS, it's like this is like a theme. Like this is literally like part of what's happening. And, I don't know, it's just a different way of using it.
Because I feel like DS9 and Voyager are the same. And again, there's probably like 2 or 3. Oh no, there's that 2 episode and that. But I'm like generally, I mean, there's the ambient music. But like for instance, like take a Doctor Who. Like I can name the episode. You play me one of the Murray,
the cues,
last name tracks from Doctor Who, where it's like, because it's so very specific to what he's composing. But it's obviously different shows to play different roles. But yeah, music and Trek, I feel like I went that first season. They're like synth track, which we can make fun of it, but it wasn't like just doing it just to do it. It was to set the mood. Oh, this is dangerous. This is, Q, this is Yar getting frozen, but after that it was kind of like, we'll let the people speak for themselves and audiences will figure it out.
Philip, do you think you could pass a blind Doctor Who theme test?
Probably. Well, pass. I'll say pass. I won't say ace. Pass. Because the drums are going to be different from the I'm going to go too deep into it. Drums are different from the 10th Doctor. That one I think is the most you can tell. 13th I could probably tell. So yeah, I could probably pass.
Okay. I was just curious because every time I happen upon an episode, it's like, oh, they changed the music again or the visuals here, and I'm like, okay. I mean, how many times can you do the same exact thing? But that's okay. It's fine.
There's I don't know if y'all have seen this online or how much you are online like me. I don't call it a meme, but something I saw going around Facebook, or at least TNG Facebook. I forget the context, but it was something like, in TOS, it used to be very much more military the way the script was. It'd be like Spock, 20 degrees, Captain, and then like Sulu would be like bearing 2-4. It's all this sort of like military choppy talk, for lack of a better word. Whereas I think you get that Encounter, and then they sort of are no longer talking like they're members of the military, which can say is good or bad. But it's sort of like station keeping. Entering station keeping, aye, sir, at station keeping. It's just sort of this and then after that, they're just like, don't do that anymore. So, and it's just an interesting difference.
Yeah, there's less of the call and response as time progresses. And like you said, less military, we're on a ship. It's a spaceship, but it's still a ship. It's going to act like a ship. It's like, well, now it's the future and things are so automated. Like we don't even need people in these chairs, but we'll put them there anyway.
Turns out you only need 7 people, and you can you run the whole ship. We found out. So
yes, that's so silly.
But make me again thinking of Search for Spock, where they get attacked and the automation circuit fries, and Scotty's like, I wasn't expecting to take it into battle. And I'm like, Scotty, it's the Enterprise. Like, really? Like, I expected that. Like, you took it out of space dock. Of course it's going to go into battle. Of course things are going to go sideways. Have you lived on this ship? But, again.
You could have just taken one of the shuttles if you... Anyway. Yeah. Another thing I've written down, 2 things, but I'll do one. Character-wise. Troy, much more, I think, playing it alien than, there's the accents heavier, whatever accent she's doing. Because I feel like she's doing, and I could 100% be wrong on my description. It's almost like an Israeli accent or something that she's doing. And then she just goes full British by like season 4 of just her regular voice. But I think she is sort of playing, it seems to me as a viewer, much more of an alien. Whereas we just get sort of a human after after a bit. So it would have been interesting if Troy had stuck to a little bit more of a I am not one of you character.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. What about Wesley? He kept getting taller and taller. Why couldn't he have just stayed the same way he was in season 1? I don't understand.
Daniel, that's aging and growth, but yes.
Yeah, we definitely showed what he looked like older, and it does not match at all. Daniel, genuinely, I have written after Troy Wesley. That's funny. Because, and again, not that he was going to be the same. and people I know argue or don't like, or I don't know, maybe multiple views, I'm sure, about Wesley and Star Trek TNG. But I almost feel like this whole he saves the ship through season 1, but I don't feel like that's what we got at the beginning. Like I'm talking about the first few episodes. Well, I say that he probably saved it in like the second or third episode.
He did. It was the
drunk one. Yeah.
Yeah. The drunken one. Yeah.
Yeah. But just doing it once, I don't feel like means you're going to do it like a million times. But yeah, just the mother son, I guess is maybe what I'm talking about, or just, and again, that's going to grow up, but it would have been interesting to sort of get that Jake, Sisko versus Wesley. Because I mean, look, Beverly had this young son, and then on the bridge, and she was standing up to Jean-Luc, this is my son, but like, don't really get that much later.
Well, and Wesley's interesting too, because his character doesn't really have like an arc, really, like because obviously
Ball of Light. You didn't get Ball of Light, Daniel?
Like he's supposed to be this amazing super genius
Wonder
guy,
kid,
and then Will left the show, of course, and then they came back and they wrote him out like that. It was just so sort of bizarre. Yeah. I don't know. I always feel like he kind of only half feels like a TNG character to me because he's only there half the time, and it's like he's just as much not there as he is there. So I just think of him as a part of the earlier of the show.
I mean, that big change from the pilot, that head of security that totally became a Klingon, and
Yar's first thing out.
Yeah, it's almost like we've done this for 300 something episodes, and we can anticipate each other's moves.
Sandwiches. No, wait, no.
Well, I mean, other than the obvious, look, I mean, if you're, that was I say a choice. We won't get into the internal politics of it, but I mean. Yeah, I mean, we got Yar in that encounter. Like, she's the security officer. She was standing up to Q, got frozen. I mean, she was definitely there. It's not like she wasn't there. So how do you know? And I'd have to rewatch the first season, but like, she was there as much as everyone else was, for good or for ill. I mean, I'm sure she would have wanted more, but I'm sure Beverly did too. And, and Geordi and Deanna, it was what unfortunately it was. But yeah. I mean, I wasn't mad about. I mean, again, I think I watched TNG later. I didn't start season 1, so it was Yar's new to me as a fan when I was watching it. Like, oh, there used to be, but I would not have been sad if Yar had stayed longer. The last thing I'll say, unless y'all have more about TNG, was LaForge. Now, I can see what the argument might be, but like he's much more funny and laid back. Now you could say, well, he got made lieutenant commander and he was the management after season 2 and 3. And so that's why he's much more serious. But like, he's I won't say abrupt, but it's quite a personality change from season 1 LaForge.
I wonder if that was LeVar's choice or if it was a writing choice, because it is so different, right? He becomes completely serious and sort of. And then, of course, later on, like socially awkward, even to the point where it's like it's just weird. Like, whereas in the first little bit, it does. He feels like just like a cool, chill, funny guy you'd like to hang out with. And I don't know. I wonder where that shift happened or why. Like, what was the source of it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, like again, not that they did it, but like if I were just to infer things, season 1 LaForge, like Lieutenant Junior Grade LaForge, is like the life of the party. He probably, if he goes that way, has probably lots of girlfriends. And then we just get like nerd pocket protector LaForge in season 3, who like barely cracks a smile. I'm not never, but like I'm exaggerating, but it's kind of a little night and day.
And he takes his job way too seriously. Like he gets mad at Barclay, he gets mad at Scotty, he gets mad at Wesley. Like he
hot chocolate gets spilled. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Man, engineering's wild.
All right. Anything else from TNG? All right. If not, let's go to the next series in a row, and that's DS9. Like I said, Daniel,
I had it written down right here. DS9.
Just 9. Comes after TNG. All right.
You knew it was coming. Yeah.
So, well, here, Jan, I'll go to you. DS9. What do you think is something we saw in the beginning that might have been interesting to stick with?
And again, this kind of teeters on just new character syndrome, but like I think Kira a lot, like her she's way more abrasive in the first episode. And I mean, rightfully so, but I think that is they're kind of finding, and it's easy for us to look back at it now and be like, oh, look at the journey this character went on. It's like, yeah, it says this. I mean, they had that journey mapped out at the very beginning that she was going to go on this whole ride. But, and I think you had, I'm copying from your notes you had posted earlier, Philip, but like, Odo is way more like less alien. It's kind of like Troy was more alien in the pilot and Odo was kind of less alien in the pilot.
Yeah, because they were, and again, I'm reaching back to my memory, but I it's just one scene, it's like one line, but like the way Odo, when Ben is going to go to the runabout, to go investigate, whatever. And Odo's like, I want to go with you. And it's like, my people, that's where I was found. Like, he's very vulnerable to me in this moment. It's not like the Odo who never talks and is abrupt that we usually get. Not that he doesn't have vulnerable moments later in the series. But anyway, that just would have been it's just a different way that we saw, I think.
Yeah, Odo's interesting too because I think he has a danger of becoming a pretty unlikable character in a lot of different points throughout Deep Space Nine because he's just like Mr. Crime and Punishment, and he's just grumpy to everybody. But earlier on, early on, he's just it's obviously same thing with Data, right? Like the rules aren't written for his character yet, so it feels a little looser and like a little like I guess I'd say more human-ish than he does later on when he changes a bit.
But it would have been interesting, again, I'd have to watch it again. But to me, with Kira, not that she and Ben don't have conflict, but, and maybe I'm rewriting history, you tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like they do get along, I'm hand quoting, much quicker than one would think. Like, I get that she, in the pilot, she learns to respect him.
He does become the emissary. So, I mean, there's that. Like the first time she meets him, he's not the emissary. He's the Starfleet commander that came in to take over, like, the station. And by the end of the episode, he's a religious figure.
But it's interesting because I don't think we ever see that from her.
Right.
Like, we're reading into it.
We see that from Kaiopaka.
We definitely do see it from her, like, way later on. Like, there are a couple,
right.
There's a couple of episodes where she's like, listen, you are the emissary.
I'm working with Jesus. It's really weird. It's really awkward, but I just try to be professional.
That's really interesting that you say it that way, though, Philip. Because in the first, like, their second scene together or whatever, when he starts...
but my hands are dirty.
Yeah, he starts picking things up and doing stuff, and I think like that's like immediate. Like she's already like, okay, this guy is all right in my book, and then he tells off Quark or whatever, and like
he's like, oh, even up another notch, Commander. You told off the Ferengi. This is great.
So I think they hit it off pretty smoothly, like right from the get go, which is fine. There doesn't need to be like, and then later on they flesh it out like we mentioned with the emissary stuff. But I think really there's not a lot of conflict between those two, hardly at all. Like there's an episode or two in my brain that I can think of where it comes to a head, but I think he gets her respect pretty quick, earns it pretty early, and then he has it throughout. So,
and it would have been interesting, and again. Though I feel like I've seen the pilot more recently than feels like I am. But like she's something. I think her very first scene, like she's yelling at the provisional government, like "F you, da 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 da." What you guys need to do, what you need to do. But like we never got necessarily that late. I don't talk about first season, but even early seasons of like Kira being like, I've been put in this position. Whatever we call that position. And like, I got these bureaucrats who won't do, she's not necessarily, don't get that Bajoran conflict necessarily, which I mean, for a show that's theoretically about the Bajoran, story, that's never necessarily something that continues.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the idea would have been that we would have all of that filtered through Kira, but yes, we never meet whoever the provisional government is supposed to be.
Yeah, the council chair,
right? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
We have no idea. So. Well,
and we've chatted on this before, but I mean, man, I'm really kind of curious what DS9 would have been like if that had been Ro, because she brings all this Starfleet history. It's a very different, but it's kind of like going back to your hometown, vibe of like, okay, I wasn't here during the occupation. I'm assuming she wasn't, or at least for the latter years. And so, yeah, a lot of the Bajorans are going to resent her. It's like, hey, we were fighting for your freedom and you were off in Starfleet, living the good life. But her interaction with Sisko would be really interesting to see because she has that Starfleet connection, even though by this point she had been, Ro was kicked out after DS9 launched. I'm curious, like, where her character would have been if they had just shifted her over to this story. Do you know what I'm saying?
Theoretically, all right, let's do this in my head. So we know Ensign Ro, the episode, appeared before DS9 because they had to establish the Bajorans exist. Production-wise, but as far as airing, obviously that happened first. So we know she was in prison. I forget for how long, but let's just say 6 months, if not longer.
That's true. She did have a troubled past.
Yes.
But then she would have had to, I forget when it was. We'll just say 6 months. I'm making it up out of nothing. In prison. But before then, she would have been like an ensign in good standing. So that means her 4 years in Starfleet. And so, like, how long was this occupation? Because it was a long time, right?
It was like 50 years.
50 years or something.
Because, obviously she grew up in that, but she somehow, as you say, because it's been a while since I've seen the episode, escaped that to go join Starfleet. So,
was that episode on Bajor, though?
See, I don't think it was.
Like a colony or something.
It was.
No, it was the
refugee camp.
It was not Bajor.
But yeah,
as a refugee camp. Yeah.
For some reason, and I'm making this up in my head, I could be completely wrong. I don't picture her in Bajor. Like wherever she was with Bajorans was still occupied. But I don't know, in my head, I never think it's Bajor. I think it's like, Colony Random 5, But I don't.
4. Solarian 4. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Because there is something about like even. Because, then you get into the whole, who suffered the worst game, which is always fun.
Right.
I was on Bajor and it was the worst. What are you talking about?
Want Ro to be the main character, but I kind of want Kira to be a side character that shows up in a couple of episodes that is just like the Kira we got. And like they butt heads because they had very different childhoods, and that would be very interesting.
And then they make out later because that's how those journeys happen.
This isn't the Mirror Universe.
That's true. Mirror Universe, Kira definitely would do that because that's her vibe.
Enemies to lovers. It's the oldest story in the book. One thing we've talked about before, and I know this is a choice. I'm not saying full Battlestar, but look, that first pilot, DS9, is dirty and grimy, and the way they're filming it, I think, is dirty and grimy. Now, is that a choice? And then, episode 2, we got the money, now we can afford better lighting and da-da-da-da-da. But, and I'm not saying I want to go full Battlestar Galactica, but it was introduced that way. First episode. And it just would have been interesting if that had been a little slower in coming together. Because it's like episode
a season
2,
instead of an episode.
Yeah.
Well, you say that to O'Brien with a straight face that everything works because everything didn't work. It got like 4 episodes later, we had civil defense. Definitely things not working. But yeah, I get what you're saying. A longer cleanup would have been interesting. But I also understand totally fine with it being the next day because that's the point. Like you throw Starfleet resources at it and Starfleet technology and boom, it's done because we expect that. We don't expect, the Enterprise to not be clean for a month because of grime or whatever. Yeah.
We expect it on Voyager, but we didn't get it there either.
Well, yeah.
There was a year of hell. But anyway. Yeah, because it would have been, and I'm not saying they didn't do this, and look, I'm not criticizing stories because if I say they do something, then they can't do something else. But like this whole, because you say that, Darren, but like if they had never found the wormhole, how fast would that thing got cleaned up? Like, no, it's on our list. It's on our list. But now it's the wormhole. Now it's higher on the list,
Yes.
you know. And it would have been interesting sort of that first season where it's like, oh, you're important now. And then you kind of get like the maybe Kira perspective, like, oh, well, so we weren't important before. And it's like, you know, and so you get that sort of.
That could have been
Are we just being
interesting thing to
exploited?
explore. Yeah.
This is, I don't know, this is the first episode per se. It might be, but at least first season, Rom. That's change that we get.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a good change though. I think he's just a better character. He wasn't really much of a character at all. Honestly, he was just
Generic Ferengi.
yeah. In the beginning,
He barely had a name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like the only reason he had a name is
Nog's
because he was Nog's father. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a better change for sure.
Though we get a bit of a Homer Simpson with him. It's like, how dumb can we make him? Like, I mean, you know, he wasn't that dumb in the beginning.
Yeah.
I say dumb. Obviously, he's a very smart engineer, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, and he runs the Ferengi Alliance, Philip. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So,
Yeah, we would never put anyone in charge of anything that wasn't smart. Anyway. But, yeah, so that, I mean, like, that's you know, that's something they put in there and something they really dramatically change. I mean, that's not just an acting choice; that's a writing choice. Yeah.
yeah. Morn, early Morn is, you know,
Very talkative.
yeah. So he had all that hair, and
That'd be funny. He's like Afro that first season. Like, nah, that's not that.
With the space afro, it's cut. It's not a sphere. It's like a different shape. You
Or
know.
cube.
It's a cone.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking Babylon 5, where they sort of retroactively explain why Garibaldi lost his hair. Because you see him has hair in the beginning, and he's like full bald. And there's like some episode where like Ivana was talking to a criminal, like, I promised, you know, I would never reveal that you know, put something in his drink to make him lose all his hair or something. But anyway, so Jadzia, Daniel, I'll get to this. So I won't say it's
Very different by the 7th season. Very different.
I said Jadzia, I did not say Dax. So that means it's a change, a radical change. And then there's character evolution, which is good, natural. And then there's a decision has been made. What do you think, Daniel? Was it like, do you think it's night and day when you look at it? Or do you think, she just matured over time?
no, I mean, you know, if you listen to interviews with Terry, I think she admits herself that she was learning a lot, like learning on the go, basically with the show. So I think it's a different character. She plays it a little bit differently in the beginning, and I think she just grew as an actor and got better. I think that's really kind of mostly what it is. I just think it's just those earlier on. It's just she's not as comfortable. She's not as like confident as she was in like the second and third and fourth seasons. So I think that's probably mostly what it is.
She's basically a reverse Geordie, where very very serious and then very laid back and funny.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else from DS9? If not, I know we've been going a while, but I'll just do bullet points. Voyager and Enterprise. Because I feel like those are both pretty straightforward, but y'all can correct me. Anything from Voyager or Enterprise that you thought they established and then either abandoned or changed?
I was upset that they established early on that the ship was lost and then it wasn't. Oh wait, no, they didn't.
I mean, it took a while.
No, I don't. You know what? I'm not really sure if there's much. Voyager was pretty consistent. Like that first season is pretty Voyager-y. Like it's not like TNG where you're like you can look at one episode and you know exactly what season it's from. Voyager's like kind of the same, kind of throughout for the most part. Yeah, like nobody.
Because it's half a season, I guess, should be acknowledged, which I think is the true from DS9. I maybe we're saying that wrong, but I mean, basically, like Voyager's like 1.5 season, like season 1 and season 2. I mean, it's basically kind of one blob, and almost in my mind, because I don't think until Basics, I believe, is the season 2 finale where they get stranded on the planet, and I think like. Not that there's a change, but I think you can notice a little more of a difference season 3 as far as the look of things. But yeah, I mean, obviously, look, there's the obvious. Yes, Maquis, Starfleet, they all become very friendly very fast. Yes. But I'm not beyond that. I mean, that's the obvious one. I guess we should state. But other than that,
well, Cass was a thing early, but she was there for half the time at least. So
Yeah. No, she's there. I mean, she's there more than I think people might think as far as throughout the series cast. As far as characters, Neelix is an interesting character, I think, because I feel like, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong. He's much more survivalist, not like in a mean way in the beginning. And then we get sort of like everyone's favorite uncle, like in the beginning, 5,
he's kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, he's like, you guys are making bad choices. Like, I'm ready to bail out. And then later on, it's like, okay, I'm now safe. And so I'm going to be comfortable. I think that's kind of the arc he goes on.
Yeah, because I think there's very much a. I mean, I'm just saying the same thing you said, but much more of like a alien sort of. I'll use this phrasing, very Delta Quadrant-y, which is, I mean, it's much more cutthroat in a way, vaguely speaking. Whereas, like, after a while, he's just like, yeah. I assume January will do the right thing.
There's no giant stabilizing presence like the Federation. There's just all these factions. If you go into the wrong territory, there's nothing to save you.
You could turn into a lizard.
Yeah. I mean, the Borg space is pretty stable. I mean, if you ever want to go over there, that's, the only thing I had marked down.
I've heard no complaints from Borg space. People go in, they don't ever want to leave.
That's right. For Enterprise, I have T'Pol. Now, again, Daniel, this may be the same thing with Cherry. Same thing with Joanne, model turned actress. And so she's evolved, and I'm not, she evolved, and that's fine. But she is much more severe. We used that word for Vulcans before, didn't we? And it's like little things. And this is a dumb example, but the whole cutting up the breadstick. I don't eat with my hands. You watch like season 2 and 3. She's eating her with her hands all over the place, which I know is a nitpick. But I mean, that's a choice that was made in the pilot, which I thought was interesting.
I mean, it's just like the torpedoes of Voyager. Like they over confined the point, and then they're like, okay, we're just going to ignore that because it's ridiculous to have someone have to script doctor Jolene and make sure she never uses her hands while eating. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, also, you could say, and maybe the ideal was that she's assimilating. Like,
that's true.
She's getting used to the smell now.
She's not
like,
the Borg, Daniel.
That's true. The smell.
She doesn't hate eating with her hands anymore, and maybe she has a hot dog every once in a while.
Shacking up with a human.
Yeah.
She's all different.
Having children, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I think, I don't know, because, T'Pol's not my favorite. Nothing against the actress. Because I feel like she goes too human. But again, we get to this whole debate that we won't get into about how Vulcans are in Enterprise versus later, and why not. But I mean, I feel like she goes a little human-y too fast for me. I mean, I would have loved to, and maybe
that's why Vulcans have their own ships. The longer proximity to humans, the more less Vulcan they are. I mean, it kind of every data point we have is backing that up.
Well, except for Tuvok. He was very Vulcan the whole time. He
ran away from humans for like 50 years, didn't he?
He's like, I gotta go back to Vulcan. He comes back. No, you're right, though. All the time we see Tuvok, he's the model Vulcan.
There were only two Vulcans on that whole ship, so.
And he was a lieutenant commander in that pilot, and he got demoted 3 episodes later, and it's so weird. Anyway. If you're ever doing a Voyager rewatch, just pay attention to Paris's Tuvok's rank. It's just so many street corns going on. You can't even tell. All right. Well, anyway, any last thoughts about, I don't know, things maybe you wish they kept, or, any weird things from any pilots that you remember?
I mean, Voyager, it's like, I think we retroactively look at it and go, I wish that they had leaned in more to we're stranded and things can't be replenished and things can't be, like, I think they had a real opportunity there. I think that just the technology of how to produce a television show wasn't quite ready to run that. I think if they had been full CGI ship, you would have had a season 1 ship, a season 2 ship. You just tweak the model every season and you build that into your budget and you have more distress and more stuff. But that's also what modern television is. If Voyager is made now, it would be completely different on how it was done. So
Jamie would have a chalkboard of how many members of Voyager would left.
I was gonna say Ronald Moore worked on Voyager for one day, quit, and then made Battlestar. So there you go.
Oh, he did? I don't think I realized that.
Yeah. I think he did one episode.
Like directed an episode?
No, he was writing. I think he was helping writing. I can't remember what episode it was, but I'm almost positive he directly attributes it. He got so frustrated with all the restrictions, and he went and made Battlestar right afterwards. So,
thank you, Voyager.
Because I could see Voyager did try. Like they had hydroponic bays, and Neelix cooking. So there were things you could see, but it would have been interesting to lean in a little bit more to like, we can't have everything that you see on a Starfleet ship and stuff that they could have been alternative, interesting things. Like, oh, we don't have holodecks, so we have to do something else. I don't know. A lot more,
the holodeck runs on a separate grid, so apparently it's okay.
Anyway,
it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Daniel, how will they live when they're about to die? Come on, that's why the holodeck's invented.
That's right.
Jesus,
so you
got
go
thing
down
in the world.
And go to the bar.
So you got me curious, Daniel. So I looked up, and he does have a writing credit for Survival Instinct in season 6, and then a story credit for Barge of the Dead. Survival Instinct was. It's the one with the mini other collective, the ones that like, once in the past seven put an extra Borg nano in them, and they hear each other's thoughts, so they're like a little collective of 3.
It was basically a redo of the Chakotay episode from season 3. Anyway,
yeah, kind of
cool. All right, well that's enough pilot talk, of who's better versus Sulu versus Paris. So, Daniel, if folks want to talk about why you've changed ranks throughout the seasons of City Alpha 3, where can they find you?
I will say Sulu got a ship, but Paris is on a plate. So one of those things is definitely better than the other. But they can find me online at OneUpDown. That's the number 1, not the word.
And Darren, if people want to talk about your makeup changes throughout the years, where can they find you?
They can go to drsci-fi.com, DRSCIFI.
And if folks want to talk about why I no longer use synth music for everything I do in the background, they can check out my Instagram at CAPTSFUFP. Well, until next week, I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Proof.
And I'm Darren Moser.
Stranded here on City Alpha 3, just like the first episode.